Welcome back, fellow Illumineers, to be our guest. You don't know it, but this is the last video I'm recording. So for me, this is the finale. For you, you still got two more videos to slog through, so my apologies in advance. I shouldn't apologize. Tomorrow's Stephen Kettle. That's amazing. But even better, and I think Stephen would agree, today we've got Oliver with us. Oliver, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Awesome.
Super excited to be ranking these stacked fours. Um,
Stacked is right, my friend. Stacked is right. Yeah, we're doing draft reviews. If you haven't caught on, this is the first time you're seeing us. Don't watch this one first. Go back and watch 1 through 3, but we're basically ranking by ink count. So you're thinking about, as I'm drafting, I'm building out my perfect curve, right? So why not go through the curve? And today we're looking at the four drops, and as Oliver's saying, it's stacked. So really looking forward to that myself. Oliver, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself? You were on the show last time. Hopefully you checked that out. If not, go back and watch that too, from Azurite Sea. But if the people are new, tell them about yourself, tell them where you're at, and maybe a little bit about why you love drafting.
um, so I always, it's cool because I'm not like, I wouldn't say that I'm on the higher end of players. Like, I can beat some pretty good people, but I feel like I like
When we did Cube
just,
Draft, you were doing pretty good, so I'm just gonna throw that
okay,
out there. You're being a little humble, my friend.
I, well, I'm not trying to be. Okay, sure, I'm being
You
humble.
go
Uh,
ahead. You be humble or you be proud. Whatever.
no,
You live your truth, man.
I feel like sealed, just any really sealed, just puts everyone on the same level. So that there's like, sure, you could get some busted cards, but if you can't really make the deck how it like, I don't know. I always like deck building, and I like putting people on an even playing field because I don't want to
Yeah.
like take one of my little cute decks and then get slapped in the face by anything with green.
By meta deck.
Yep.
That's a
Like
great point, right? Is like we start at an even playing field, but then your skill in deck building, in analyzing value, can give you the edge, as opposed to the edge just being, what deck did you bring? Love it.
exactly.
So give the people a little bit about yourself and your Lorcana story, and where they can find you, because you do some pretty cool stuff, and I'm a fan.
Thank you so much. I do like card trivia on Twitter. I've always loved cards and just like their art and how they perform. So I do guess the cards on Twitter. Journey into Lorcana. Um, I don't know what else to say. Just come hang out.
I mean, yeah, right? Like, so first of all, in the show notes, you'll find the link to Oliver's socials on X there, on Twitter. But yeah, guess the card, and you're doing two formats now. Guess the card based on some kind of facts about it. What set is it in? What's the ink cost? Does it have an ability or not? Some cool stuff like that. I'm pretty good at that one. You do another one with a snippet of art. Guess the card based on a little snapshot of the art. And I think I've gotten one the time you've ever done that. I am
Oh, the
apparently
Mulan
terrible
Archer.
at memorizing the art. And I appreciate the art. Like, I look at the art, I love it. I say, apparently, I can't. I love that you remember the one I guessed, by the way. Yes, it was Mulan Elite Archer. I can't seem to remember, like, this feels like an X card. Like, you had one recently, and I'm like, this feels like a Merlin card, but it was the Sorcerer's Hat. I'm
Yeah.
like, nope, wasn't even
I
the right
mean,
ballpark.
it was Sorcerer.
Sure. All right. Enough about that. Why don't we get it? This video is going to be long enough as it is. So let's cut to the rankings. Again, if you've gone through this before, you know how we're ranking it. But for anyone that's new, let's cut to that, and then we'll come back and look at the cards. So we're going to do A, B, C, D, F, as our rating system. A is first pickable and happy to first pick it. This is a bomb or just really effective card. There are commons that are absolutely within this territory, but ultimately it's something that you're just like, you open your pack, you look at it, and you're like, yeah, this is the one for me. Love this one. Happy to have it, right? That's an A. B is, I'll first pick it, but I'm not going to be absolutely thrilled about it, but I'm definitely very happy to pick this up and have this in my deck. I will always play this card, and I'm going to kind of be picking it in the first half of the pack. C's are your, like, journeyman staples of your deck. You're almost always going to play these cards unless you've drafted so well that your deck's just crammed full of A's and B's. So you're always going to play these cards, or almost always. But you're not exactly thrilled to be taking them. You're just like, okay, these are cards that are going to fill out my deck, right? These are the cards that you want kind of in the middle to last half of the pack, and they're solid. D is, ideally, I'd like to not have this in my deck. I will play this, but I'd like to not have this in my deck if I can help it, and I'm certainly not wasting any early picks on it. These are cards that you are going to be picking up because it's the only cards left in the last third of the pack, right? Ideally, these should all be inkable. If they're that bad, you should not be taking an uninkable card that's that quality, right? And then F is don't play it. And usually that's because they're uninkable and they're like D quality and uninkable. But it could also, there could be some inkable cards that I rate as S just because they're so bad. And in that case, obviously, if they're inkable and you need ink, you're going to play them in your deck because you're only eliminating 8 cards that you drafted. So if you have, 8 uninkables that are Fs, you're going to play an F that's inkable, of course, right? But you should try never to have this anywhere near your deck, and you should only be using it as ink if I've got an inkable F in there. And we're back! It still feels awkward. All right, so we're talking about 4 drops, and actually I picked up something in terms of efficiencies from Teddy yesterday. Shout out to Teddy who was doing the 3 drops with me. It's like, I guess we don't have to say what cost it is, because I'm always like, it's a 4 cost inkable. I guess we can just say, is it inkable or not? So I'll go through the first one here. So we've got Perdita, Playful Mother, who is an inkable 1/4, 2 lore. Whenever this character quests, you pay 2 less for the next puppy character you play this turn. We've established already that there's not really good puppies in this set. Your puppy characters gain Ward, which we've also established is not a great ability in Limited. Now that I've really kind of laid my hand bare, Oliver, how do you feel about Perdita?
I really like this card because I love the idea of a puppy deck. We have way too many of the puppy sleeves, but I feel like opposed to last set where there was so many pirates that makes getting pirate cards and stuff that impacts pirates actually viable. There's just not enough puppies to do much. Yeah. Its stats are still pretty solid, so I feel like it's either like C or maybe low B.
Low B, you're killing me, Oliver. A low B. So the vanilla stat lines for this cost are a 3/4 lore. So it's 2 strength off of vanilla. And so there's one puppy character specifically that I wouldn't mind playing, but even that I think I had rated at a D plus C minus. All the others are hard Ds. So I've got this at a D plus just because it's inkable, but it's a 2 lore body. So every once in a while, for me, the perfect D plus is something that's niche usable. And although I'm not entirely thrilled to top deck a 4 cost 1/4 2 lore on turn 6, turn 7, turn 8, a 4 willpower 2 lore body in general is probably better than your average 2 drop. So sure, I'd rather top deck this and play it at that point. But if I'm inking at all on any given turn, this is probably one of the first things that I'm looking to ink. So, man, everything's got to be an A if you've got this.
No, I see what you mean. Let's put it in D. Let's put it in D. I agree with that.
Oh, good. I like to think this is a democratic process, but you shook me a little bit. I'm like, I seem to recall you being a lot more aggressive with your rankings on the last set.
To the bottom.
All right, read us out this next one.
Okay, so we got the 4 cost inkable 3/4 2 lore Susie, who is better than Perdita when it comes to her base stats, and just because she doesn't have an ability does not make her unplayable, because opposed to the ability that had to do with puppies, this is just a lot more usable than something like that, and just the extra 2 attack that can just help you get rid of big board threats and still be able to stay alive in quest is really solid. Oh, your audio's off.
Thank you for that. Hey, we're professional here. I've got a little mute button on my mic for when I drink my tea. What do you have Susie at?
She's I mean, she's above Perdita, so
Uh-huh.
probably like C, but she still isn't like changing board state at all. But
Yeah.
she's definitely helping you out.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I usually have the like I'll be frank, usually I prefer the 3 cost 3/4 1 lore because with this kind of body, I'm usually more looking to control the board than I am quest for lore, but it's still around the same strength, right? You're paying an ink for a lore, which isn't too bad. So I've got her at like a CC minus. So yeah, somewhere in there. So we'll put her in here for now and see where she lands kind of with the rest of the cards. Awesome. That's probably why it took you so long to read the card is because when I said, hey, you can go ahead and read the card, I was still muted. Ah! Cinderella, the right one. Inkable 2/4 2 lore. She is a princess if you really want to play the glass slipper. When you play this character, you may put an item card named the glass slipper from your discard on the bottom of your deck to gain 3 lore. Don't play the glass slipper, so as far as I'm concerned, this is a vanilla. What say
Basically.
you about a vanilla 4 cost 2/4 inkable? And while you describe how you feel about it, I'm just going to do that.
And that's probably where I was gonna put it. Like you get the extra one attack. If you get the diamond like earlier, just because it was the last card given to you at that point, like you're probably not gonna play it. If you find the Cindy and get the perfect draw, it could work.
It's the
But
princes that's the problem in the equation for me, right? Like if it wasn't for having to exert a prince, the glass slipper, if it was just exert a character and look for a princess, I'd probably be okay with that if I had some good princesses to look for. But the fact that
sure.
it specifically has to exert a prince, I get it's very thematic, that's lovely. But it's just complete F, hard F. So even if you get it, you shouldn't play it. Even if you get both of these, if I had 2 glass slippers and 4 Cinderellas, I would not play this. There just isn't enough princes to make it actually viable.
I like that placement.
All right, read us through both. This is a much different 4 cost 2/4.
Yes. Okay. So we got the inkable 2/4 2 lore with support.
Yeah.
That's key right there.
Yeah, that's a big
Like,
difference, right? Especially on a 4 willpower body. I would
oh
say
yeah,
I
seriously.
much prefer this to a 3/3. So we're actually going to see it later. There's a 3/3 2 lore support for 4. I would much prefer a 2/4. Yes, I'm giving one less strength, but it's more likely to survive to do it again.
Yeah, he's not gonna
So
get smacked.
exactly, I'm more likely to be able to actually give 4 strength over 2 turns than 3 strength over 1 turn. So I like this fairly well. Like I don't think it's like crazy or anything, but I think it's pretty solid. I've got it at a C plus.
Yep, that's exactly where I was gonna put it because the key word there is when it quests, you get to give the lore.
Yeah.
So you get to give the attack. In questing with 2 lore, rather
Yep.
than being like, I don't know. It's great for removal. It's great for questing. You just get to really do everything with this card. So I agree with the C tier.
Yep.
It's not again. It's changing board states so slightly that it won't affect too much,
But
but it's still
enough,
nice to
right?
have.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
like
nice to
a
have.
2 cost can challenge into a 4 drop pretty easily with an additional 2 strength. So love it. All right. Pascal Garden Chameleon. We're getting right into the heavies real early here. It's an uninkable, fair enough, but it's a
I don't care if it's
3/3,
unequal.
right? 3/3 lore evasive, and happens to be an ally, which is a relevant character type in this set. What more could you ask for?
All right. I mean, it's uninkable. It's probably gonna have to go in F. Just kidding. Shoot that
Right?
baby up.
Any uninkable cards in F, right? I
Yeah.
said in the quick hits video, so I did a video with just kind of the top hits if you don't have the time to watch all these deep dives. I'm like, I'm asking you oftentimes to be cautious about your uninkables. This is not that card. I
No.
don't care almost what other cards you have from this set. This goes in your deck.
Get him up there. He is A
Yeah,
tier. Take him. You
yeah,
see, it's like Zazu of Shimmering Skies. You see that card, you take it, put it in your deck, and you're good.
yeah. I mean, I still don't have I think I still had this as the third best 4 drop, which is wild. But here we are. This is the realities of the 4 drop in this set. All right, read us through the next one.
All right. We got the uninkable 2/2/2 King Candy, where whenever one of your racer characters is banished, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters.
So it's trying to be Prince Eric, but unfortunately it fails miserably because all the racers suck. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it has to be one of your other. Like, it's not even him. So yeah,
Yeah,
this is
right?
an F for me.
I agree. Like the two lore is the only thing that's saving this card. But at that point, if you're playing it at 4 and it's only a 2/2,
Yeah.
you're like, that
Especially
is
this
not
set where there's
good.
so many stacked fours. Like, if you're wasting your fourth turn on a card like this when there's so many amazing cards, like, I'd rather Bolt over this even if it was inkable.
Oh, I'd rather
So the
kill
fact
over
that it's
that any day,
uninkable is like, get out of here.
right?
All right. So we have Kenai, Protective Brother, Inkable, 2/4, 1 lore. At the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, you may ready another chosen character of yours and remove all damage from them. That's interesting. What do you think about Kenai?
It has one lore, but
Yep.
being able to like, let's just scenario, you have support and you're able to challenge and then quest and then just say bye to all that damage and they're ready. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, that's just protecting them. You challenge with Pascal and then ready them. I mean,
Not that I want to be challenging with Pascal, but I get exactly what you're saying, right? Like,
exactly. But
yeah.
inkable
It's
too, like four
Or let's
health.
say they thought that they were gonna like double challenge into Pascal and like they do 2 damage to it, and they're like, yes, I can finally get rid of Pascal on my turn. It's like, nope.
Let's try.
Yeah. So I don't have this super high because the 4 cost 2/4, 1 lore body is kind of a deterrent, but
It's unfortunate.
it's it's like a better bodyguard, right? Like if you picture this as a bodyguard plus, if I had a 4 cost 2/4 bodyguard, I wouldn't be thrilled, but it's even better than a bodyguard. So I think in
Because you're
that
healing them.
sense, I'm almost selling myself up. I had it at C. I think it might be a C plus. Like, I don't know. I think it's definitely in that range though. I don't think it's like a card that I'm actively looking to take in the first half of the pack, and knowing how busted other 4 drops are, it probably knocks it down a little bit. In terms of, I'm hoping my other 4 drop spots are going to be filled with better cards than this, but it's still pretty good. How do you feel like it is relative to Bolt? I feel like I've
It's
got it
better than
below
both.
Bolt, but you like it better than Bolt? I can get behind
It's
that.
yeah.
Yep.
Like unfortunately, you're getting one less lore, but healing does not come by often. Support is very good for getting rid of people, but if you're able to just like challenge, get rid of them, ready, and then keep him alive, like
Yep.
that just makes trading obsolete.
Yep. The fact is he's only got 1 lore, but by protecting that and healing that character, you might be getting that much more lore out of the character that you protected, right?
Mhm.
So nice. Or that much more challenge, right? Like, because it's removing damage, probably the best use of it is a big body that's going in 5/5, taking out their 4/4, and then you're healing it. It's like, yeah. All right, read this one.
Do I even need to? All
I
right,
mean,
we got Inkable 2/4 Snow White, where this character can't be challenged. A tier, and we're moving on.
like, so this is my best 4 drop, because there's an busted 4 drop with this later on, but at least it is interactable in a set with there is literally 1 card in the set that isn't 7 drop that will deal 2 damage and or remove this at once.
Yeah,
Everything else is kind of 1 damage at a time. Maybe you can move 1 damage to her twice. Um, that's like, all we needed was a Fire the Cannons to make this card not very good, and we don't have it, so it is ridiculous. You just get to quest for 2 for the rest of the game.
and I don't think that we think about this, but it's an uncommon, so your chances of getting it are really high. Whereas, wow,
Yeah.
that's a really good legendary, but are you really gonna get it in opposed to cube,
Yeah.
where it's not
Which is
completely
why I'm going to
guaranteed?
push Panic a lot higher than I had it when I was kind of reviewing it in a vacuum. All right. Da-da-da, Tribe Elder, Inkable 4/4, 1 lore. This is a very common vanilla type. In fact, we effectively have 3 of these in this set. One is Scrooge, which has abilities that make it vanilla. How do you feel about this kind of normally as a vanilla body?
I like it because Forkful, again, removal is not easy to come by when it comes to drafts, so you kind of got to prioritize it. like I would prefer to play something like Susie, where even if like I have to challenge, I can and get rid of something and still gain 2 lore if I can't take something out. Whereas this, I just kind of don't have a choice. It's either I challenge or I gain 1 lore.
See, this is where I actually like it because I'm more of a board control player. I consider myself tempo slash board control, which is to say I don't
Oh
usually
yeah,
go big, like 6, 7 drops. But I will go big bodies to tempo to help my kind of aggro strategy. So I actually really like this size at this cost because it tends to take out everything 5 drop and less. Because by the time we go up higher in cost, or even at this cost, the bodies tend to be smaller than this because we're adding lore or we're adding abilities or something else. Like if you look at every other body at this cost, there is Iago because he has vanished, so he's bigger. There's the Queen that's a 4/3. There's Shere Khan, and then there's the vanillas. Everything else, this takes out and stays on the board, including Susie. So I love my 2-for-1s. I like it better than the 3-4-2 lures because I'm going to look for other cards to be my questers. And this is going to be the thing that keeps my questers safe by clearing the board for me. So I still don't have it super high. Like I still have it in this kind of mid C to C plus range. I'd probably have it higher if there was less of them, but because there's effectively no, actually, sorry, there's 3 common or uncommon ones, and then Scrooge never going to see because it's legendary, but still 3 of them. So I'll probably have it a little bit less because there's so many of them. But I still think I probably have it around Bolt's territory. So I think I'll put it below Bolt, but around that territory. Spent too much
well,
time
that was a
talking
lot
about
of
a vanilla, but luckily that will save us the time of talking about the other 3 of them. Because Scrooge is effectively the vanilla. All right. Walk us through the next one.
okay. We got a full, well, we got an inkable 3/3 2 lore treasure guardian where when you play this character, if you have an illusion card in play, you may draw a card.
So I'm hard pressed about this because I love drawing cards. I love all the illusions, so I want to play them all. And there's a common and an uncommon, so I might see them, but they're so good that they're going to be drafted highly. And I hate something where if I had 2 cards in my deck, I wouldn't expect to ever activate this. So it may happen, and it'll be great when it does happen, but I've kind of got to rate this assuming that it's never going to happen. So at that point, it becomes a 4 cost 3/3/2 lore, which is way off rate. Um,
And
but I mean, if you happen to be able to draft 4, 5 plus illusions, then all of a sudden this goes well on, right?
oh yeah,
Especially because it's inkable, right? So if you never find your illusions, you can always ink it. But if you've got kind of 1, 2, or less, then for me it's like a D plus. What
have
do
you
you
ever
think?
noticed that he had a ear piercing?
I did actually, yes. I always thought that was quite funny that a sand demon had an ear piercing. And
I
I'm pretty
just
sure,
noticed
like, they
that.
make it look like sand in there. I'm pretty sure it was gold.
Okay, high D tier. Moving on.
Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. Now is one I'm really intrigued to talk about. We got Iago, giant spectral parrot, inkable 4/6/1 lore evasive, but also has vanish, which says when an opponent chooses this character for an action, specifically an action card, not an ability, you banish them. How do you feel about Iago?
This card is great because I feel like there's only 4 non-character cards per ink. So like that's insane. That's like nothing we've had yet. And so the chances of them getting an action that can choose another person on your board and can take it out is insane. It gets rid of Pascal and stays alive. One more is unfortunate, but going by your reasoning, a 4/6 with evasive is incredible. And if not, ink it.
Yeah. So here's my only problem, and I agree with you. I had him very highly. My only issue is that I kind of got away with, as far as I'm concerned, saying that the 2 cost and the 3 cost are unlikely to be targeted by your opponents because they just rather save their abilities for something else. Because usually the actions that you're going to use are good for you. You know, restoring the heart, probably better to heal your character 3 than to take out Raja. That becomes a lot less applicable with Iago. It's so good that anything they've got, they're going to use on this. But to your point, they're going to have access to very little. But of this stuff that they've got access to, a decent amount of them are pretty good, regardless of vanish, you know, in a just on their own. So, you know, restoring the heart, there's the one that gives bodyguard. Both of those draw a card. There's a decent amount of actions that I'm probably not going to play, but I know that some people will play that can choose it. So, like, I almost don't think it's as good as like a Raja in terms of you're probably not going to get away with it as often, but it's so good if you do get away with it that it's worth the risk. So I think it's probably like a low A, high B, but
I'd say high B.
yeah, I'm with you. I think it's like a B plus because there's some risk there. But so what I'd be trying to do is just get value out of it as quickly as possible. Like wait, don't play it on 4 if there's no evasives to challenge. Almost save it for if my opponent plays Pascal, if my opponent plays Fidget, if my opponent plays Kuzco, that we're about to see in you know, at this point, I'm dropping it then. Because again, it only quests for 1, so like I'm not really using it as a quester. If I've got good things to challenge quickly, then I'm gonna be playing it, right?
I don't care if he's like an illusion, but the fact that he's evasive is hilarious. He is literally a giant bird towering over everyone, and he's
Yeah, how are you not
evasive.
hitting it?
What is
That's
this
a good
man
point.
dodging?
The theme is off. All right. Walk us through the next one.
Okay, we got an inkable 2/4, 2 lore Jafar, where during an opponent's turn, whenever one of your illusion characters is banished, you may return that card to your hand. This card is really cool if you're playing an illusion deck. Regular, it's not really good. Where's our other 2/4? Cinderella, this is basically, unless you get an illusion card like Raja or Iago, then you can't really play it. So I feel like that I'm just going to have to throw it down with Cinderella.
Yeah, I mean, I'd equate it exactly to Treasure Guardian, right? If you are lucky enough to have drafted, you know, 4, 5, 6 illusions, then it becomes very good. But if you've only got 1 or 2, and the chances are you're never going to see them in the same game, then it becomes a bad vanilla, right? So the question is drawing a card on play better than potentially being able to abuse a ton your illusions? I would say I'd probably rather Jafar than Treasure Guardian, but they're kind of interchangeable, right?
Okay, that's fair.
But
Now, if
it's a
you
D.
get the enchanted, you play it just to be like, I put an enchanted.
Just to spike it. As you pointed out rightfully on X on Twitter, sick enchanted art.
Dude, like, it's nothing that we've had yet where it's just so incredibly like just the
let's take a moment. I
illusion.
know I said we're short on time, but let's take a moment and all
I don't
appreciate.
care.
You
It's
know,
incredible.
look at that. That is, I love the like,
The snake and the
yeah,
lighthouse thing and the
yeah,
dead tree, just like it's all wispy and magical and
yeah.
man,
I think it's on me to read this one out. Anyways, doesn't matter. Madame Medusa, Diamond Lover, Inkable, 3/4, 1 lore. Whenever this character quests, you may deal 2 damage to another chosen character of yours to put the top 3 cards of chosen player's deck into their discard, which unless you do this like 5 times is not going to matter in limited.
yeah, unlimited where you're gonna have like a solid small deck. It's not
Yeah.
gonna be great. Okay, body, but yeah, I agree that D tiers.
Yep. Mid D, it's inkable. That's what we'll give it. All right. You get a much better one to read through.
Okay, we got an uninkable 2/2, 2 lore. We got Kuzco with evasive. At the start of your turn, choose one. Each player draws a card, or each player chooses and discards a card.
Man, yeah, this is another one that feels like I don't care that it's uninkable. Like, uninkable lowers the value for me, but it's just so good that I'm not really that worried about it. Because if you get it out early and you manipulate it in such a way that when it benefits you for both players to discard. In other words, I got a trash card. I'm more than happy to get rid of my opponent's worst card for whatever this is. You do that, and when it doesn't, you draw. And knowing that there's so little removal in this set that unless you exert this into an opposing Iago or 2/3 evasive or whatever, it's going to stick around. Like, it's not nearly as good as Pascal, but it's, well, I said not nearly. It's pretty darn good.
It's pretty darn good. Now, it says at the start of your turn. At the start of your turn. Is that after or before draw?
It's ready, set, draw. So you set first.
Cool. So then if you're top decking, you discard them and then you draw. Heck yeah.
That is exactly what you do. Yep. That's the perfect time, right? When you're in top deck mode, they still got cards in hand. Then it's just ridiculous. So yeah, really like Kuzco. Where would you put him at relative to Iago?
Probably higher than Iago, just because he does so much more for you.
Yeah.
Like,
and oddly enough, he's less vulnerable.
Right?
Oddly enough, he is less likely to be banished. Yeah, that's funny. All right.
We're good.
Anna, Icebreaker, Inkable, 2/3, 2 lore, with support. And when you play this character, chosen opposing character can't ready at the start of their next turn. That's a lot going on for 4 for uncommon.
It's really solid. I mean, first of all, support, that's great with the 2. You can quest for 2. Inkable, super solid. And then, especially its ability, I feel like it's not specific. It really just works in so many different occasions.
Yep.
3 is a little upsetting because it can be super easily just smacked in the face and then gone. But I feel like with all of its other stuff, it's easy, like really low B or high C.
Yeah. High C. So I have this at a high C. I have it at a C+, but the more I think about it, the more I probably like it, but I don't know. It's somewhere around there. I'm fine to put it at C+, because we're going to have so many high tier cards in 4. But the fact of the matter is, okay, so we already rated a high C as a 2/4, 2 lore with support at 4. And the ability to lock a character down can be massive. You lock down their biggest challenger to protect your questers. You lock down their best quester to be able to catch up and get ahead and be the threat at that point. I've mentioned it a few times in this series.
Take it out.
What's that?
What if the support's the thing that lets you take it out? Like,
yep, right. So you use the support to take out their second best character the next turn, or their best win. If you locked it down, right, this turn, and the next turn with support you get able to take it out. I get what you're putting down. Yeah, absolutely. So that lockdown can help you win a race. It can help you win a race because they're questing, or win a race because they're challenging and removing your board. It's so versatile, that ability. And the fact that we just get to choose, like, how many times have we had to, let the opponent choose this ability, or just get exert, right? Make the opponent exert a character. This one, we actually get to lock it down for a turn. So powerful. So I think definitely like the highest is C+ or B-. I feel like I'm going to want to see how C and B fleshes out for the end, because I might want to pop it into B. B-. It's pretty good. All right. Can't remember who we're on. I think we're on you, but I can't remember.
Yeah. So we got an Inkable 4/3, 1 lore, the Queen, where exert, choose 3 cards from chosen opponent's discard and put them on the top of the. Put them. Exert.
You got this.
3 cards. I'm just gonna restart. Editing.
Oh, I'm not editing that out. Don't you worry.
Exert, choose 3 cards from chosen opponent's discard and put them on the bottom of their deck to gain 3 lore. If any princess cards removed, this gain 4 lore instead.
Yeah. So let's assume you're not going to do the princess card. It could definitely happen. There's princesses in this set, but let's just kind of do what's going to happen 95% of the time, which is gain 3 lore. So is this effectively a 4-cost 4/3 that gains 3 lore? Because there's probably only going to be enough cards to do this once. And it's a 3 willpower, so it's probably going to get removed before you do it again. So it's probably effectively a 4-cost 4/3 3 lore, which certainly isn't bad. And don't worry about putting stuff on the bottom of their deck. They're never getting to it, so it's not like, I'm going to put your worst 3 cards on the bottom of your deck. Really, the only thing this is for is if you think there's any chance they're playing something to get something back, which, as far as I know, there's only the Racer one for that, and that's terrible. So, no, not worried about that either. So ignore the kind of nuance of what you're putting back. Just 4-cost 4/3, gain 3 lore.
I
Pretty
think it's
good.
really solid. Also,
Yeah.
I feel like power attack is almost like a shield. Like if someone
Yeah.
wants to challenge you, let them challenge you. You already gained the 3 lore. It's a trade. Also, a little off track, but Malia Ewert. Let's see, right there.
Ah, yes. Uh, Very cool. So you're going to be especially biased for that. So it's not Pascal or anywhere close because it's not evasive. So I can't put it anywhere near that. I've got it at B minus. I think that's
I agree.
probably a fair place to put it. Yeah.
I mean, unless it's your first time doing the set draft, like I'm gonna go to a midnight draft. If I see that, I'm taking it. It's a legendary. A legendary is a legendary.
Yes. I don't know if this came up in our last time doing this, but I try not to do the reviews based on, the fact that you're just going to take legendaries.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so this is the card that I've got to up my valuation on because it's literally the only thing that'll take out Snow White. Uh, Panic, High Strung Imp, Inkable 2/3 2 lore, Ally, again, very important. Well, not very important, but definitely of relevance. When you play this character, you may move up to 2 damage counters from chosen character to chosen opposing character. This is the regardless of cost, this is the second strongest removal in the set. The strongest is a 7-cost action. This is the second strongest.
Yeah.
Where are you at on Panic? Because I had him at where did I have him at? I had him at B minus, and I think I gotta up it.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So if you see, I mean, situational, you see a Snow White and you see said card coming up, foreshadowing that's really good, and you take that instead. If you pass that on and then you see a Panic, you take that because you know that someone else has a Snow White. It's
I
an
don't know if I'm
uncommon.
taking anything over Snow White. I mean, a high value legendary, sure, but like, oh my gosh. um,
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, I
Like,
think regardless of Snow White, it's just a really like for me, it's B minus if Snow White didn't exist. The fact that Snow White exists and just there's no removal in the set has me thinking that I need to value this almost as much as those. Like this is probably a B plus.
yeah,
Um,
like maybe the last A tier possible.
yeah,
Like
either
this
B
is our
plus, A
bottom half for A
minus. Yeah.
tiers.
Honestly, I feel like I need to put it as A minus just because of how necessary it's going to be. Not because it's an A minus power card in a vacuum, but just because in this set it is an A minus.
Yeah.
Might be I might have gone from valuing it way too low to way too high, but it's definitely somewhere around there. All right, we've already established that Drizella is in here. I'm going to say Drizella gets in over Tanana.
I
Shere
agree.
Khan.
You
All
gotta
right,
have that
go
matching
ahead.
art.
Go ahead with Shere Khan.
Okay, we got an uninkable 4/4, 4 lore, Shere Khan. When you play this character, discard your hand. I don't care if I'm discarding my hand. I don't have anything in hand anyway. Put that on the board, and like 4/4, that's basically a shield. They're not gonna touch you because they
Yeah.
can't with anything like 1 to 3 costs. You can't really touch this. 4
Yeah.
lore. If they take it out that turn, it's a 4 lore bomb. It's great. Put it in A
Yeah.
tier.
I don't have it in A tier just because it could be a little cumbersome, but it's very, very good. And I've heard people kind of talking down about it. I don't want to discard my hand. Look, yeah, on 4, you're not going to play this. It is not a 4 drop that you're playing on 4. It's not playing on curve. But there's so many times where by turn 6, 7, you're top decking, right? So at that point, right, there is no downside, especially in this set, there's very little card draw. So chances are we're going to be in top deck mode quicker than normal. Also pair this with Kuzco, and that becomes even sicker. And we got some really solid bodyguards in this set, which just makes it even more so. Pair this with Thunderbolt, the two, what's he, 3/7 willpower bodyguard. and you're feeling really good. So yeah, I've got this at B minus B. I don't think I can put it in A tier just because there's going to be times where it is a little clunky. So it's not just such an outright bomb that you're just dropping as soon as humanly possible. So I feel like then it comes in kind of this range here. So I know
Yeah.
you've already got it above these. So I feel like I'd probably put it here. Feel like that's
Okay.
I could feel comfortable.
You do you.
I had Iago above it before, but somewhere in that range I feel comfortable with. I mean, these are
Yeah. I
all
mean,
amazing, right?
to
Like
be fair, reasonably, you should be playing the Shere Khan. Um, oh, like you should be playing the Kuzco over the Shere Khan, but I don't care. I'm gonna play the Shere Khan because he's big boy. So
yeah.
smart.
All right.
Don't play it. But anyway,
All right. Gizmoduck suited up, inkable 4/3/1 lore with resist +1, and this character can challenge ready damaged characters. Why'd they have to put the damaged on there? If you remove the damage, this is amazing.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, the characters that I want to challenge with this that are ready probably aren't surviving damage. I want to challenge a ready 2/2 with this. I want to challenge a ready 1/3 with this. Like,
right?
they're not really gonna be damaged. So, like, am I challenging a damaged 4/4 and Gizmoduck's gone? Like, I've got it as a C minus because of that
Like,
damaged. This would be like
it's
a B minus if it didn't say damaged.
hard. I'd have it higher than Drizella
Okay.
because of that resist, and it's basically the
That's a
same,
fair point. That's a fair
but
point.
resist
Yep.
protects it from stuff like panic,
Yep.
and it's probably lower than the other one. So let's just have it there, locked in.
Sure. I can get behind that. All right. I mean, go ahead. Tell the people about this one. I feel like you've gotten all the busted ones to describe.
Let's go. Four cost, inkable, 2/3, 2 lore, evasive. Whenever this character quests, another chosen character of yours gains evasive until the start of your next turn. Holy crap! This is awesome. Put it in A tier.
Yeah, for sure. So specifically, this is Fidget. He's also an ally. Got that as well. As I mentioned, lots of great allies in this set. The until the start of your next turn is what does it for me. Like
Yeah.
Tinkerbell in set one that gave evasive to one character for a turn on play was already pretty good. Just a 4 cost 2/3 2 lore evasive is quite good. Being able to give a protected character for a whole turn with evasive is ridiculous.
And you
And
throw Ian
or
McDonald on top of that?
yeah,
I
and or
mean,
so either you can protect one of your characters, or you can give one of your bigger bodies evasive to take out their Pascals or Fidgets. It's amazing.
exactly.
Yep. I've got it below Snow White just because it can be interacted with,
Sure.
whereas Snow White just can't, but they're both amazing. I wouldn't fault you for taking one over the other. King of Hearts, uninkable, 3/3 2 lore, damaged characters can't challenge your characters.
It's uninkable, which is really upsetting. I'm
It
sure
is
that
because we've got some really good uninkables we want to have in the deck.
when you have like if it's in constructed where you have stuff like grab your sword, non-plural,
Yeah.
it's really solid because then they can't touch your board. But I feel like in limited, they're not going to be damaged unless you're trading.
Yeah.
And so it's just not amazing. Probably like very bottom of D tier because it's still playable even with the uninkable. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't put in F. That's a little too harsh. I'm not putting him next to King
Well, D
Candy.
tier is saying you don't want to have it in the deck. I've got it at C tier because I do think you're absolutely right. And that's why I've got it in C tier, or I'd have it higher. That damage doesn't tend to stick on characters much in limited. They tend to trade. Like I remember Scar, and you'll have this with Mad Hatter, where I had to work kind of hard to have the damaged characters around. So I think more often than not, this will affect like one character at a time, which isn't nothing. You know, a 3/3 2 lore body for 4. So this is where, for me, this is an F. If you're struggling with uninkables, I would cut this over a lot of cards. Whereas it's probably a B if the uninkable count is irrelevant, because it's still a solid body for that cost, and you get some pretty high added bonus, some pretty high upside if you can make it work. So for me, it's probably like here, maybe here.
I'd probably put it there, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because Susie's inkable.
All right. I think you're up with Matchmaker.
All right, so we got inkable 4/3, 1 lore. Whenever this character challenges another character, each opponent loses 1 lore. This
So you're
is
trading
solid.
off a willpower for this ability, right?
Unfortunately, probably will be trading unless they have some small guys on the board if you're playing this on turn 4.
Yep.
But like, I feel like
I remember liking
inkable's
the
solid.
Donald, the 3-cost 2/4 from Shimmering Skies. I didn't draft it highly, but when I had to play it, I felt like I liked it. It was okay.
Sure. Like, I love the idea of just making them lose lore. I like that's kind of my play style is just being annoying. Like, not trying to be, but it's just more fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably where you're
I feel
hovering
like
is
it's
probably where I'd have
either
it.
just above or just below the 4/4s, you know?
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I'd probably just rather have the 4/4, but it's all right.
In a tight situation, it can get you out of it.
All right, we got a Stabbington Brother here, specifically the one without a patch. It's an uninkable 3/4 1 lore with Rush. Your other characters with named Stabbington Brother game Rush. I mean, that's probably not going to be relevant. So just uninkable 3/4 1 lore Rush. How are we feeling about that?
It's not terrible. It's uninkable, so I can't really see it being played. But I like the rush because that can get rid of board threats, especially with 3. You're probably going to survive with 4 health because that's a good safe zone when
Yeah.
it comes to health. But it's not great if it was just inkable. And I guess if you get another Stabbington Brother, go for it. But
Yeah.
it's just not
I think I'm going to
incredible.
put this up here because I feel like this is going to fall into C again. We're already getting pretty chunked
Yeah,
on
yeah, 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 yeah.
C's. I'm probably in the eventual like screen grab for the rankings. I'm probably only going to put one of these 4/4s in there. I feel like I got this above the 4/4s though. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So somewhere around Gizmoduck there. All right, another good multicolor card. Read it out, man.
All right, we got the Beagle Boys, inkable 3/3 2 lore. Whenever this character quests, chosen character gains rush and resist 1 this turn. Wow,
Given your
this
5-drop a rush and resist.
seriously, like this is 2 lore, by the way, which is
Yeah.
great. So you can plus for 2 and then get rid of anything that will take it out. Super solid. I'd probably put it just below Anna.
Oh, see, I would have it. I would actually have it around like Iago territory,
Do
um,
that,
because it's
please.
questing for one more lore than Queen, and you're getting a really strong effect out of it.
Yep.
And there's a distinct possibility that it might even survive the next turn, especially if your rush character is taking out their biggest threat. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's around here. I would probably take it above Iago personally, but
The highest
um,
that you're willing to go, put it there.
okay. Shere
Done.
Khan. Actually, you know what? I think I'll put it above Shere Khan because it's inkable.
Okay,
Um,
never mind.
All right. Moana, Island Explorer, Inkable 4/3 1 lore, evasive. When this character challenges another chosen character of yours gets +3 strength. Moana clears house, man.
Wow.
These
Wow.
4-drops are just.
These 4 drops are just insane.
Yeah.
They're evasive, so no one can touch it. 4, so it can take out Pascal. It can
Yep.
take out any other things on board because of its ability, Adventurous Spirit, and it's
Yep.
just killer. Love that art. Beautiful. Put it either, I don't know, maybe right below Beagle Boys.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think the fact that there's so many really threatening evasives, coupled with that extra strength. Like obviously just the 4-cost 4/3 evasive in this set would probably be pretty impactful. But couple that with the +3 strength, and that's just awesome. All right. Next up.
We got Maurice, Unconventional Inventor. That's a mouthful. Inkable, 5/2, 1 lore. When you play this character, you may banish chosen item of yours, Wildgrade. To draw a card, the banished item is named Maurice's Machine. You also may banish chosen character with 2 attack or less. Woo! Yep, all
Don't
right,
draft
moving on.
Maurice's machine, so we're just
Nope,
gonna move on.
I like the 5/2. It's gonna die if you try to challenge, so it's basically a bomb.
uh Ratigan, a nefarious criminal. I'm sorry, Baker. Inkable 3/3/1 lore. When you play an action while this character is exerted, which you're not really going to have much of any in your deck, gain 1 lore. I'll put him above Maurice, if that makes anyone feel better. I'll put him above Medusa, if that makes anyone feel better.
First time drafting, A tier. First time drafting, not. Continuing.
All right, go with the next.
All right, we got Clarabelle, news reporter. Inkable 3/3/2 lore support and breaking story. Your other characters with support get +1.
So this is the one I was referring to earlier. There is a decent amount of support in this set and a decent amount that I would draft. So the second ability isn't completely negligible, but it's probably not going to happen, right? I would say there's, you know, yeah, right. I feel like that's one of those abilities that it's not you know, negligible. It's probably going to happen if you're drafting aggressively for support, you know, 10% of the time. But we kind of got to assume that's not going to happen. In which case, as I mentioned, I'd kind of rather the 2/4/2 lore than Clarabelle. So unless you've got other characters that mean that she is valued more, like Bolt, then I would probably put her there.
Totally.
What do you think? Yeah, cool. Yep. All right, Scrooge is another one of the vanillas.
Yeah.
He's got to go at the top for the vanillas, and I'm just gonna put Mufasa there for the sake of time. Mufasa is second.
Put it below Drizella because it doesn't have matching art.
No, because there's a shift Mufasa,
All right, fine.
5/7 evasive that puts it above.
That's fair. We got to think about that. I didn't
Kida. Inkable 3/3/1 lore with ward, which probably isn't that relevant, but an ability that is, which is exert her to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one into your inkwell face down and exerted, and the other on top of your deck. So you get to keep the best of the 2 and put the worst in your ink.
Yep, it's digging. That's super solid. Ramp, which do you really need that? Sure.
There's a lot of great 7-cost inkable evasives that I really want to play with. So I'm usually not interested in ramp in limited, but this set kind of makes me interested in ramp in limited.
Yeah, if you get something big, then I mean, why not play it? Ramp is great. Ward protects you from panic, I guess. 3/3/1, not a terrible body. I don't actually know where I would put it.
I'm putting her somewhere in here for me, like C+, B- territory.
Yeah, I'd probably just put it like right below Gizmoduck.
Right below Gizmo? Okay, you got it that far down? I don't know if I can put it below support, man. I think that this is a better ability than support. I'll put it below Kenai, but that's all I'll give you.
Do that. I agree.
All right, go ahead, man.
Okay, we got him with Inkable 3/3/1 lore support. When you play this character, chosen character gains resist 1 until the start of your next turn.
I'd rather 2 lore.
Support. I mean, I'd rather have the lore.
Yeah.
Who's this from?
This is from Atlantis. Jebidiah Farnsworth. He's the cook. So for me, I'd rather 2 lore. I don't know about you, but like than the resist +1. But otherwise, totally. I think the forecast 3/3 body on support is, you know, pretty reasonable. There's a lot of support in this set, man. I would argue almost too much. All right, Maid Marian, Badminton Ace, Inkable 3/3/2 lore. During an opponent's turn, whenever one of your ally characters is damaged, which we've already established, there's a really decent amount of good allies in this set. Deal 1 damage to chosen opposing character. Pretty good. Your character's named Lady Cluck, gain resist +1. She's not the best bodyguard, but she's still a decent bodyguard. That all combines to be kind of solid, especially if you're doing the ally deck, right? I mean, for me, you got to be doing the ally deck, otherwise she's a bad vanilla. Yes. But if you're doing the ally deck, so for me, she's like a high D+, kind of low C-, and she just goes up considerably in the ally deck.
To be fair, we have King of Hearts right there, and he's uninkable. So I'd probably just like slide her.
You can just bump him in F if you want.
Done. Okay. Dr. Calico.
Low C uninkable is probably just an F to balance things out here. All right, go ahead, man.
All right, 4 left. Dr. Calico. Inkable 3/4/1 lore. While this character has no damage, he gains resist +2.
Which
Okay.
Yeah, which probably means he's gonna have no damage for a while, right? Like,
He's not going to be taken out very easily. One lore is a little upsetting. Like, make him a rare and give him 2 lore. But besides that,
in this
super
set, you could
solid.
probably just make him an uncommon and give him 2 lore relative to
Uh,
everything else.
fair enough, fair enough, fair enough.
Um,
Like, oh,
yeah. So,
probably
sorry, I closed him up a little too early. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, I think I've got him at high C. Yeah. So, what do we think versus like Kenai, who we've got at the top of C?
higher than Kenai.
Yeah, I think he's the top of C. Yeah, I would
I
agree.
know we might need to change where Kenai is.
All right. Kakamura, Band of Pirates, Inkable 161 lore. Well, you have another pirate character in play, which there's like 1 or 2 decent ones, but probably isn't going to be very common or happening. This character gains Challenger +3. So probably it's an Inkable 161 lore.
Which is not bad. That's gonna stay alive for quite a while. Unfortunately, the one is just not great, and only 1 lore too. So even if
Four
it does,
cost, man.
yeah, 4 cost, you're not getting much out of that.
Yeah. We got 2 cards left. All right. Aladdin, Research Assistant, uninkable, 2/4, 2 lore. Whenever this character quests, you may play an ally character with cost 3 or less for free. While this character is exerted, your ally characters gain +1 strength. I've been mentioning I really like the ally deck. The problem that I have with this is that like a cost 3 or less, I probably don't even have it in my hand at this point. I probably already played it because I probably don't have like 2 in my hand. The +1 strength could be interesting, but for a 2/4 two-lore body at an uninkable 4, I'd have to be really hard into allies before this makes sense for me. I'd have to have like a third of my deck be allies. Um,
Okay, so considering its stats, it's probably like just above Jafar, lower than Maid Marian.
oh, I've got this as an F because it's uninkable. If it was
Well,
an inkable, sure. But for me, this
that's
this
true.
goes
Jafar's
for
inkable.
if you've got that like serious density of allies, this probably shoots up to like a B minus. Um,
Mhm,
this one is very polarizing.
mhm.
All right, last one. Read it out.
Finally, we got the redemption arc. Uninkable 2/4 1 lore Gantu. When you play this character, characters cannot exert to sing songs until the start of your next turn, and each player pays 2 more to play actions or items.
So specifically redemption in constructed, because
Mm-hmm.
this is the hardest F we've got in this so far. But I like what you
Yeah.
mentioned about the redemption arc. Just done dirty in the first set, fringe playable in the last set, and now might be actively meta in this set for constructed.
Yeah, I
But
mean, if you're playing Kiwi Birds, then sure, totally play the other and play the other game too.
I feel like this is a really balanced, good tier list here, and obviously some like sick cards at the top of it. Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I feel like that they're not even on an A level because like it doesn't look like much when you just have like 4 in A, but you got to realize that these 4 are C cards.
3 at least are like S tier if I had that in my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right. Thanks so much for doing this with me. I had a blast. We're gonna have so much fun drafting these forecasts
Heck
in a
yeah.
few days. 2 more days, and we're gonna be drafting some of these forecasts. Tell the people one more time what's your socials, and we'll get out of here and send them on their way.
I am Journey Into Lorcana, and I am so thankful for you having me on and supporting me through all of my beginning from, I don't know when I joined. It was like maybe August, September,
Has
early
it only been
September.
that long? Man, it's been a trip. I have fun every second day now. I have fun because every second day you do the art, which don't get me wrong, I think is a great idea, and I think a lot of people will love it. Liam must love it, but for me, it's like I can't really do that. But I try every day. I look at it and I'm like, don't cheat, Heath. Don't go and look up the art.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much for having me. I super enjoy doing this with you. Thank you so much.
Hey, well, we're gonna try it again next time if you're free. So thanks everyone
Yeah.
for checking it out. Tomorrow we got the illustrious Stephen Gettle from the Illumineers support team. So look forward to seeing you all then. Take care. We'll see you next time.